All right, we're checking. Is this thing on? Let's see. What do we got to do here? Let's go that way a little bit. All right. All right. So, as you can tell, oh, by the way, welcome. Hey there. Pre-show. Where's pre-show? There's pre-show. Okay. So glad you guys could join us today. We're going to be a little late getting started, but I know you're shocked, aren't you? All right. The gray is my compromise. I liked the black, but I couldn't get your names. I couldn't change the color of your names for some reason. Haven't found out how to do it. And Chatwing has been absolutely no help whatsoever. Yes, it's a new style. The stylist yesterday said, "Oh, Tom, let's try something different." So I want to see how it does with chroma key, and I can see the chroma key is just going nuts with it. So we'll see if we can't dial that out. I mean, somebody else has got to be having that problem somewhere. So what did I miss? Look at the hair. Yeah, that's right. All right. The haircut is I call it an NAB cut, maybe. It's trying to come out of the dark ages. So, but thank you. Couple things before we get started. One is, if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, come on over to easternshorebroadcasting.com, right down there, because that's where we're going to be, that's where the chat is. And I can show you the chat because we have it ready for post-show. Let's see if it's there. Yeah, there we go, for post-show. I'm still working on the aspect ratio of it. And, ooh, looks like I'm a little off-center in that one. Let's fix that. And off-center is like, yeah, Tom's off-center. He's more than off-center. Oh, if that was his only problem. Okay, let's see, right there. I don't want to be floating. All right, there we go. Got it, good. Oop, there's a little something right there. Oh, that's probably my desk. Okay. All right. Not all bad haircut. Yep, that's right. 20 years younger. Thank you, Ryan Michael. I appreciate that. Darker gray, maybe. Darker gray is the chat room, not the hair. Let's see. Nick's here. Welcome, Nick. Dave's here. David has been popping in and out, checking to make sure there wasn't something going on all day. Anderson. Kyle has popped over from the PTZ Optics show, as has Christopher. Christopher, my apologies. I owe you. It's sitting right here. It's sitting right here, all ready to go. It's a quote, by the way, for anybody that's wondering. Dave and Dave are here. Kirk, Jerome. Didn't we have a good class yesterday, Kirk? Unfortunately, Kirk, today's show is going to be a repeat of that class, although it might make more sense than it did yesterday. Todd's here. Rudy's here. Mark's here. Mark was in the class yesterday. Mark, thank you for the order of vMix HD this morning. By the way, did you know you can buy vMix from me and get personal tech support? How about that? Daniel Wright is here. Texas Mike. Edward Ford. Edward Ford, I owe a huge favor. He's the one that loaned me his brand new, barely used Bird Dog TV studio device. And I haven't forgotten about that. Chris Watts is here. Amnon is here. Amnon's the one that calls me at 11 o'clock on show day saying, have you got time for a tech support? Henry's here. Christy's here. Welcome, Christy. Ladies in the house, y'all need to behave. Paul's here. Mike's here. And the list reorganized itself. Giles is here. Giles under the name of Giles, I might add. Let's see. Who else did I miss? Jerome. Did I call out Jerome? I might have. Worth calling out again. But yeah, come on over to easternshorebroadcasting.com so you can get in on the chat. And we'll go back to the pre-show look right now. There we go, pre-show. And this is also the background that I use for the vMix 101 basics of production class that we're doing right now. My hair is sparkling with the green screen. Yes, I was playing with that this morning. I'm glad you noticed. And the chroma key is just having, there are not really sparkles in my hair. I have not gone over to that side yet. That Tess is gonna fix me up with some makeup at NAB, I think. But I don't think that's going to include sparkles in my hair. And Tom found time for that tech support talk. Yeah, that's because Amnon's question was like a 3-second answer. No problem. Yeah. So yes, the green screen is not the what do you call this? Spikes or gel or whatever the look is. You can tell, especially right in there, it just doesn't do well. Maybe I need green hair. That might do it. Okay. And Giles is now back to his step back in time. Chris Watts. Tess will have to bring tons of makeup. That's right. She'll have to put it on with a trowel. Oh, my goodness. Mark says, finally, one benefit of baldness. Cleaner chroma key. Well said. Well said. Of course, Giles is now, he's going to have to change his text color. There it is. Because it doesn't appear. It just appears as white. Giles is writing in invisible ink. That's right. Excuse me. Yeah, who was it said last week, Dave, if you do a Control A, it painted everything on the screen? Let's see. Yeah. And then you can see who it is. There's Jerome. Hey, man. We're going to get to see you next month? I hope so. All right. So enough of this idle chit-chat. Shall we get going? Let's go. We actually have a show. It's Wednesday. Oh, it was Dave that said that. Okay, Dave. Dave is so smart. I mean, if y'all need to know something, you need to ask Dave because Dave knows. Oh, Jerome is going to be at NAB. Good deal. I hope we'll see you at the meetup. Getting plans, making plans for that right now. I actually have been for a while. Okay, so we're going to start the show here in just a second. If you are watching on Facebook, I have a special message. Easy for me to say. I have a special message for you if you're watching on Facebook or if you're watching on YouTube directly, live, of course. Come on over to Eastern Shore Broadcasting, right down at the bottom, easternshorebroadcasting.com, so you can get in on the chat. That's where the cool kids hang out, and we'd love to have you come hang out with us too. So I see there's at least 15 folks on YouTube that are not in chat. So come join us in chat. You don't have to say anything, just lurk, and that way you can kind of get in on what's going on. Yeah, that's going to be fun. Okay, and you know what? We probably ought to just check the Facebook feed and make sure it's feeding. Yes, somebody was asking the other day, are you going to repeat the vMix 101 class? Yes, we will. We'll be repeating that, I think, in May. So if you are wondering about that, that's the answer. It's a good class. That's not the answer. That's not the answer. What are we looking for? That answer, maybe? Nope, not looking for that answer. I'm trying to find the live stream for today's show, and I can't find it. You would think it would be like popping out at me somewhere, because it's, you know, it's our show. Tick, 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 tick. Come on. Well, that's not the answer. Hang on a second. I thought I pinned it, but I must not have pinned it. Patience, 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 my friends. Well, I go back to that's not good. Well, Maybe it's there, maybe it's not there, but I'm not finding it, so we'll just have to deal with it as best we can. So, yeah, Jerome doesn't see the Facebook live stream either. Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to mess things up, so we'll just go with what we got. All right. So, let's go. Let's go, shall we? All right. Hey there, welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. Yes, indeed, you are correct if you're saying, hey, Tom, something's wrong with your hair, dude. Yeah, yeah. My stylist said, come on, try something new. And I said, I wonder how it's going to do with chroma key. And she said, what? So we can see that it takes a little work. We'll have to see if, that's the thing. Curly hair, fuzzy hair, spiky hair, fluffy hair. It really gives chroma key a hard time. It really does. Really does. We'll try to work on that. I actually, I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a minute. So, really excited. So glad that you're here. If you're watching us live, I hope you'll join us directly at easternshorebroadcasting.com right down there. And you can get the chat. That's the cool part about it, because there are about, 3 or 4 people over there right now. And they're chatting up a storm and having a good old time. And occasionally it's kind of fun because they'll type something all in caps, kind of like, Tom, your mic's broken or something. And they'll try to fool me. Yes. So see, Rich is now, and we're talking fashion now. Well, Rich, whatever it takes to keep you interested. Anyway, I'm so excited about so many things. We've got the NAB meetup coming up next month at NAB, the Streaming Idiots meetup. That's April 10th. You're probably tired of hearing about it, but it's a 7:00 gig at Scott Whitney's Podworks Studios there in Las Vegas. He's got 3 live streaming sets there in his studio, and we'll be using that area. Plus, there'll be refreshments out back, and it's going to be a ton of fun. vMix is one of our main sponsors, along with PTZ Optics. Magewell will be there. Jan will be there. PI Engineering will be there. That's the X-Keys folks. And we have all sorts of fun giveaways. Some of it's beginning to show up here, and some of it will be brought that day. So yeah, and there's no admission. Just come on. Just come on. We're just, we're guessing at how many folks will show up. So you'll see. But that's 7:00 on April 10th at Podworks Studios in Las Vegas. And if you're a member of Streaming Idiots, the Facebook group, it's an event there. So if you're not a member of Streaming Idiots, come join. And then you'll get a reminder of that event coming up at NAB. And we'll be doing the Streaming Idiots show from NAB on Wednesday the 11th. The folks at PTZ Optics have graciously allowed us to come over and use their set. So we'll be doing that. And I'll be there, of course, the entire week at the vMix booth in the South Lower Hall. I think the PTZ Optics booth is in the Central Hall. So you'll get some good exercise if you go back and forth between the two. My first time going to NAB, that's what I did. I went to the PTZ Optics booth, then back to vMix, and back to PTZ Optics, and back to vMix, and circled around some other things as well. But those were the two that I was really most interested in. Another bit of news is that for those of you that have upgraded your PTZ Optics Gen 2 cameras to NDI, congratulations. It's very, very cool. That's what we're using here today. If you have If you've not done that and you want to, and you think you want to do it, and you're fairly sure you want to do it, you need to do it by Friday at 9 a.m. Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern time, because the prices will double. The regular retail price is $600. It's $300 between now and then. It is available in our store at easternshorebroadcasting.com, so you can go there. Hey, yeah, this is part of the infomercial. This is the commercial part. So you can go there and get it there, and we will send you a license toot sweet. Let's see what else. It was really funny. Earlier today, I was doing some testing, and had 50 views and 2 likes. So thank you for those of you that popped in to view our testing and gave us some likes for it. That was pretty fun. You know, today's Pi Day. Yes, it is. Today is Pi Day 314. And also, just an update for those of you that follow this kind of thing, is that we have 3 PCs. Oh yeah, that's right. Our part of the commercial part. Okay, infomercial. That's right. The commercial's really small. Here it goes. Part of what we do at Eastern Shore Broadcasting is we build PCs for folks to use in live streaming, specially designed with all the secret sauce and tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff that you probably pick up on this show if you've watched us for the last 4 years. All of that's in one box. You pull it out, you plug it in, and you start streaming. It's boom, it's ready to go. We just shipped one last week to the Virgin Islands, to a wonderful church down there. We've got 3 more on the workbench right now. One is going, 2 of them are going to North Carolina. One of them is, golly, where's that third one going? I don't remember. And then we've got 3 more that we are gathering components for, including one that will be at the vMix booth at NAB. It's going to be an Obsidian build that we're doing for Martin and Tim, for them to use at the vMix booth in Las Vegas at NAB. So if you'd like to know more about that, you can come see it at NAB, and this is the 2nd year that they've asked us to build PCs for them, so we're really delighted for that. And then we've got a great church in Oklahoma that's getting one of the ones that we're waiting on, and then another customer in North Carolina that's getting the 6th one. So if you think you're interested in a custom streaming PC or one of our off-the-shelf models, shoot us an email, tom@easternshorebroadcasting.com. Go to the website, put in, go to the contact page and send us a note. However you want to. You can even pick up the phone and call, although we've had some trouble with our phones recently. Not sure. We lost like 40 voicemails. It was not a happy occasion. Anyway, that's the commercial part. We're all done with the commercial. All right, so what do we want to talk about? Well, yesterday in our vMix 101 class, we spent a portion of the class talking about something in vMix. Yes, that's what it was. It was something in vMix. Yeah, thank you. Everything in vMix is an input, except when it's an output. So all of your cameras and your microphones and your videos and graphics and PowerPoints and lower thirds and all of that stuff are inputs. But it's when you put it all together and you're going to do something with it, you're going to send it somewhere, then it becomes an output. In fact, you might send it to itself, but we'll talk more about that later. So vMix has got tons of ways to do outputs. The easiest way to understand output, of course, or the simplest output that vMix makes is the output window, the top right-hand corner window. Some people call it program in other softwares and things. Hey, does it cost money to go to this vMix class? Yes, it's $99 and it's 6 weeks and it's really good. And we'll be doing it again in mid-May, I think. Anyway, so we're talking about outputs yesterday. Outputs, well, the most common output is what you're seeing right now. This is vMix's streaming and recording output. So the streaming and recording output is the first output, but there are lots of other outputs. For example, vMix can send this output right here, to Skype or GoToMeeting or Zoom or any other kind of software kind of thing on the web or in the cloud that is expecting a webcam. In fact, you can send this right here to Facebook as a camera. And in vMix, it's called an external output. Yeah, and if we were looking for it in Facebook, it would simply be called vMix Video. Oh, you want to see this stuff? Okay, let's take a look. All right, so the first thing we want to do is let's fire up an empty copy of vMix so you can see. All right, this is a second instance of vMix running on my same PC right here. And how about just for fun, we take an input. Do we have an NDI input here? That, yeah, we'll just pick that one right there. Well, we probably can't do that. So let's pick, that one won't work. You know, I should have thought this through. A lot of times I say, oh, this is a great idea, let's do it. Yeah, that's not going to work. So you just have to look at a blank screen. All right, but let's add a couple things to it. So we'll just add some images here. We've got one of a beauty pageant. I've got an image of, let's see, image. Oh, here's one of my buddies, Zach Adams. Interesting picture. Anyway, so we want to send, let's say we're going to send the beauty pageant out to Facebook or Skype or YouTube. I mean, not YouTube, like Zoom, something like that. We would simply use an external output. So we'll go to Settings. We'll go to Outputs/NDI. And I'll take my output 1 right here. Oh, you want, yeah, let's get oriented to this little menu. All right, so the menu is divided up. Let's say it's divided up into 4 parts. The first 2 lines are full screen. And if you say, oh, Tom, I don't have that. Well, you probably have vMix HD or lower. You probably just have 1 full screen. I've got the vMix Pro. vMix Pro and vMix 4K have 2 full screen outputs and 4 outputs in this center section, whereas HD and below have a single full screen output and 2 outputs. And then everybody's got the HDMI, excuse me, the NDI outputs and the multi-view layouts. So the 2 full screens, and currently I am sending full screen number 2 to the multi-view. So I've got a 55-inch TV across the way that allows me to see all my preview and my output, as well as the first 8 inputs at a glance, and that's multi-view. But let's say we're going to set output number 1 to output. So that looks like it's set correctly. We'll close that, and we'll just turn it on. So now we can go into Skype or Zoom and find vMix Video and bring in the dancing girls. Yes, they're right there. We can also, let's turn it off for just a second. If we hit the settings button next to external, we can go to the output NDI settings where we just were, and I'll close that out. Or we can go to the other external output settings, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And we can also go to output 2, 3, and 4, and we can reconfigure those for anything that is in our vMix setup. So we've got output preview multi-view, and then since we only have 2 inputs in this example, we've got inputs 1 and 2 right there, and then I've got the same options in output 3 and output 4. Let's see. Let's sharpen this up so you can see it a little bit in case it's not clear enough. Let's go back to, let's go to this one. So we've got the ability to do full screen. Now what is full screen? Well, full screen is basically a monitor that's attached to your PC. It could be a projector, could be an LED wall, could be a video matrix, a Blackmagic router of some kind. But basically anything that's attached to your graphics card can go full screen. So currently I've got a full screen on my third monitor on my graphics card, and we're going to come back to that third monitor look here in just a second. So full screens are monitors. Outputs can be virtual, that is picked up by Skype or Zoom or somebody like that as if it were a webcam. Outputs can also be NDI. So I can take a particular, let's take output channel number 2, and we're going to say that we want input number 2, that's my picture of Zach Adams, to be available on NDI. So if I go back into my primary production, and we'll look at that, well, let's look at it right now. Let's look at it right now. So we're going to save that, and we'll come back into this production. Let me get a quick desktop capture here of this display. There we go. And so this goes off to infinity, of course. And number 62, I don't know that you can make it out, but this is my second vMix instance right there. And you can see the picture of Zach right there. And this is my first instance of vMix right here, the production. So let's go and see if we've got Zach Adams available as an input to us. Let's see, is that it? No, that's not it. Well, maybe I outsmarted myself. That happens on occasion. So it would be this camera, clock intensity probe. Huh. Output 1, output 2. Is that it right there? Nope, that's not it. Well, I had it working earlier. Obviously, I've done something different this time. We'll have to come back. I'll tell you whatever it was that I broke, we'll fix it. So let's just go back to this look for just a second. And what I thought I was doing was making, in this second instance of vMix, I was making input number 2 available on NDI, but for some reason it's not picking it up. We'll try it again later. Additional NDI outputs, I can enable my cameras, vMix calls, and all the audio inputs to be available as NDI outputs, which means they're available as NDI inputs on other systems. And I can also take my audio outputs and make those available on NDI. And then I can change my multi-view layout. The one that's green right now has got preview and program, top right, top left, and then inputs 1 through 8 below it. This one that's green now is basically input and output is the first 2 boxes, and then 14 boxes that show the first 14 inputs. And then the 2x2 layout is input, is preview and output top left, top right, and then inputs 1 and 2. And then legacy is like the very first multi-view layout, except with different borders. Looks more like maybe a ATEM in that sense. The other outputs that we have are external outputs, and these would be, in my case, I've got 2 of them because I've got the Pro Edition. But in this case, I can use it as an external renderer. That is, I can send it to, in this case, I can send it to one of my 2 Intensity Pro cards, which are also the same thing as the DeckLink, and set it for NDI. And then when I click the external button down here, I have now made that video signal available on that Blackmagic card. So I can have that Blackmagic card do an output to a scoreboard or an LED wall or a Blackmagic router, something like that. And we'll turn that back off. Let's go back into that section. This is also where I can do a second rendering, second output to another card. So depending on the number of cards, and it works with Blackmagic cards, it works with Aja cards. I think, is it Bluefish brand cards? There's some, and there's a whole list on the vMix website that tells you which ones will work as external renderers. So we'll just turn those off for now. The other thing that's interesting is the way vMix handles the full screen output to your monitors. And you can see the full screen right here. And I have the option, since I have, again, the higher version of vMix, of having two external outputs on the full screen. So if I have enough monitors attached to my system, I can send the output to vMix to monitor 1 and 2. Now, don't be confused by the fact that it says display 1 and display 2 right here. That's vMix nomenclature. That's vMix terminology. The displays from my computer are actually here on this drop down where it says display, and I can select which one of the monitors that I want to send, or excuse me, which one of the monitors I want to assign to either display 1 or display 2 in vMix. So for example, I know monitor number 3 is my 55-inch TV across the room, and if I'm going to assign that to display 2, when I go in and turn on full screen, it will project, and I wish you could see it, it will project the dancing girls, the beauty pageant girls, on the monitor across the way. I'll turn that back off. We come back down here, and we'll go back to display. I can send display number 1. Again, that's display number 1 in vMix. That's the full screen number 1 in vMix, to monitor number 1. So I've got display 1 in vMix, full screen number 1, assigned to monitor 1. Display number 2, which is full screen number 2, assigned to monitor number 3. So when I come down and turn on external down here, excuse me, not external, when I turn on full screen, I now have full screen on 2 monitors. Now we can look here and see that we've got display 1 is set to the output. Well, display 1 is the monitor to my left. Display 2 is the monitor across the room, and it's set with the multi-view. I could also assign it to a particular input. So now I'm looking across the room at Zach, and since the beauty pageant girls are in output, I can look at those gals over to my left on monitor number 1, and then I can turn them all off at one time. Now, what I can't do is I can't turn off one full screen without turning off the other. I can't turn off external 2 without turning off external 1 if we're talking about outputs to Skype or Zoom or something like that. So you can't selectively turn off, for example, in the same way right now, you can't selectively, if you're running 2 recordings simultaneously, you can't selectively turn off 1. If you're running 2 or 3 streams simultaneously, you can't selectively turn off 1. So that's an improvement I hope vMix will do, because I think a lot of folks can take advantage of that in ways that probably never were ever intended, but the ability to basically use vMix. I mean, yeah, it's live production software. It's live video switching, but you can also think of it as a, I guess switching is also routing. It just would be one more level of control that you would have over sending audio and video different places. It's one thing to live stream a show like this one. It's quite another thing to be in a basketball arena and do a live stream, but send an output to the jumbotron in the middle of the room. That would be your instant replay, and then to send a copy of the live stream to all the TVs in all the private booths, private rooms there in the building or in the concession stand. vMix just has so much power built into it. It's really really incredible, and I can't wait to see what Martin and company are going to do with it in the future. So that was a kind of a quick overview of vMix outputs. If you have questions about that and you think I can help, shoot me an email, tom@easternshorebroadcasting.com, and we can take a look and see if we can't get you back on the right track or help you design a workflow that will do what you want to with vMix. Yeah, I guess we're about out of time here, aren't we? Sorry about that. Got off on a tangent, but it was a good tangent. So a big reminder: if you're at NAB, come on out and see us at the vMix booth in the South Lower Hall, Monday through Thursday. If you're there Tuesday night, please join us for the Streaming Idiots meetup. And if you're not a member of Streaming Idiots, you want to join that on Facebook. And then Wednesday, we'll be doing the Streaming Idiots show live from the floor of NAB Central Hall, the PTC Optics booth. It'd be great to have a good live audience there. That would be a lot of fun. Don't forget, too, that the PTC Optics NDI upgrade, the 50% sale, 50% off sale, I guess it is a 50% sale. It works both ways with that one. It ends Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. So if you need to get orders in on that one, don't delay. It'll be worth $300 per each. And that's all I got. That's all I got. So if you're watching live, hang out for a while, because we're gonna be chatting in the chat room afterwards, and I'll take your questions. But if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, thank you. If you're watching us on Facebook, we appreciate that, and we hope you'll join our Streaming Idiots group. If you're watching us on YouTube, we hope you'll subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our we hope you'll join our Streaming Idiots Facebook group. That's right. Somebody says we need to do outtakes. The whole show is an outtake. What are we talking about? So stick around, and we'll be right back after the closing. We ought to have some closing credits. That would be kind of fun. I'll work on that one. Oh, I know. One other thing about NAB is my longtime internet friend, Martin Kay from Zen Video in Manchester, England, will be at NAB and will be helping me run the Streaming Idiot show on Wednesday. We'll be there at the meetup on Tuesday night. I hope you will take time to meet him. He's a marvelous guy and very helpful, and really quality folks. It's neat to be associated with. It's nice to be associated with people smarter than me. Doesn't take much, though, does it? Anyway, big shout out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Streaming Idiots, because you're going to tune in and watch. Yes, you are. Every Wednesday, 3 o'clock Eastern time. That's right. Wherever you are, just go back to Eastern time, and that'll be it. 3 o'clock Eastern time. So long. Well, we didn't botch that one up too much. Could have been worse. And we are out. All right. After 5 years, we're finally getting this stuff down, Only 10 or 12 mistakes this time. So let's see what the good folks in chat are saying. They are not paying any attention to the show at all. Oh, my gosh. What are they talking about? Holy cow. They're talking about streaming and Samsung and Roku and Android monitors and iOS apps, and Holy cow. Chris Watts votes for the beauty pageant picture full screen for 1 hour, please. I got it off the internet, Chris. You can find your own. All right, Mark says, actually on vMix HD and lower, there's only one full screen output and one output marked as record stream. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I thought there was two for external. And I don't have an external renderer card on this PC if that makes the difference. I don't think so. I'll have to check. I've got a PC on the workbench. I just put vMix HD on earlier, and I need to double check that. If that's the case, I appreciate the correction. Guest 348, welcome 348. Does 348 must have a specific meaning? 348. I'll have to work on that one. It doesn't, I don't get it. He said, I heard every word. Okay. Amnon says, was there a show? Thank you, Amnon. Damn mute button. Yeah, well, I do have a mute button. I do have it right here on my X keys. Right there, the big banana button. I'll turn it around so you can see. The banana button is the mute Tom button. Unmute Tom. There we go. That's the banana button. And I've got it set up for 5. You can see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 5 vMix callers. And then I've got it set up with, let's see, this is my main cam here. This is the me and a guest, and then that's the guest's main cam, and then that's my lower third, and that's the Jaws of Death. You say, what is the Jaws of Death? Oh, I could have used that. Let's see, Jaws of Death. Jaws of Death. And then this is pre-show. This starts the show, that ends the show, and this is post-show. And then coming down the side, over here, we'll have... So there you go. Oh, and then these two buttons allow me to cut, the two purple buttons right there. On the second PC, I can cut between kind of that pre-show graphic that shows the countdown timer. I cut to the show, and then after the show, I cut to just a Streaming Idiots thing that has the copyright date on it. And then I don't know if you can see right there. That's supposed to be musical notes, but that basically is a mute everybody switch. So if all else fails, mute everybody. Amnon says, Tom, you pressed the banana when you started the show. Oh, you can't fool me this time. You can't fool me this time. Oh, it's Robbie from Phoenix. Okay, Robbie, good deal. Giles says, great show, Tom. Particularly enjoyed the color of your polo shirt. Well, thank you. I'd rarely have that compliment. Dave says, actually, all those seemingly disjointed comments are references to wish list vMix outputs. Oh, that would be your disjointed comments, not my disjointed comments. That's right. Amnon says, Tom, you pressed the banana when you started the show. I did. I didn't do the whole show on mute. No, you would have called me on the telephone. You would have said, Tom, you're muted. I would have said, quiet, I'm on a show. All right, so, oh, Glenn has a good idea. It says adding a green gel would help with the key. So if I've got regular clear gel in the hair, so if I added some green gel, that would help with the key. I think he means a gel on the light. That's a good idea, though. I'll try that. Thank you. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I don't have experience with. Let's see. We're going to go in and we're going to turn off. There's a little gear icon in the bottom right-hand corner of the chat. And if you click it, you can turn off scroll to latest message. So I'm going to do that so I can go back. I can kind of roll back through the chat and see what's going on there. Let's see. Yeah, 348 says, no, don't do that. Don't use green gel. Mark says, is the backlighting on the X keys adjustable? On some videos and photos I've seen, it looks like the lighting makes labels hard to see. Yes, it is adjustable. In fact, you can turn it off, you can turn it red, and if you use activators in vMix, you can make it change color when you do different things. And I must have accidentally left all of the blue buttons on, but we'll turn it off. And generally, we turn it off all the way. Okay, let's see. 348, Robbie asked about the class, the vMix class. Yeah, we'll start a new class again in May. It's intended, here's the deal on the class, and a little commercial again, but I think you might enjoy it. If you've used vMix for a while and you're like me, you have learned what you needed to do in order to accomplish what you wanted to accomplish. That is, I want to stream my church service, I want to stream a talk show, I want to stream a sporting event. And so you learned those piece parts that were needed there. But once you step outside of that, it's kind of like, okay, well, like the externals that we talked about today. If you don't use externals, then it's like, oh my gosh, what are all these things? Well, that's the purpose of the vMix 101 class, is to round out your knowledge of vMix. You know what you know, and you may know some of what you don't know, but there's a ton of stuff that you don't know that you don't know. Did you get that? Are you making notes? And so that's the purpose of the class, to help you at least become familiar with what you don't know, and that you don't know that you don't know. All right, there we go. We got that. Was clear as mud, wasn't it? I love it. This is my favorite comment of the day, Glenn Lewis. Adding a green gel should help with the key. Oh my gosh. All right, let's see. We're talking about fashion. Yes, we are. Holy cow. Good deal. All right, so I think we're back up to date here. Kyle says, your hair looks like you have a nice ocean breeze coming through your studio. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's good, except the fact that it's frozen in place. But, you know, the stylist said, Tom, it'll be a good look for you. That you lose 20 pounds would be a good look for me. There we go. All right. So I am up to date. So we're going to change that back. And scroll to latest message. You know, it's just in the abstract, it's hard to get people excited about something that, you know, they don't use, they don't see any need for, blah, 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 until you in your production with anybody else on the same network that's running an NDI compatible software piece, like vMix, of course. All right, Anderson's got a question. All right, let's see. Christopher says, your hair does seem to have a St. Patty's Day glow about it. Yeah, that's what that's what it was. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. Anderson says, was having some issues with NDI inputs. When I try to add an NDI source, I do not see any. And sometimes I have to wait over 2 minutes before they show up, and then another time they just don't. Is there something going on in the background that I should look for? It is not unheard of for, and you saw, if you saw the class, that I enabled NDI in that second instance of vMix, and then went to look for that input. I'll go look for it again, and see if it was available. Yeah, I don't see it. And sometimes they do take a little while. I don't understand it. It does depend on the source. It does depend on the speed of the network and the other stuff happening on the network. If you've got a 100 meg fast internet network, you may have difficulty sending a camera image. This camera image right now is about 110 megabits per second all by itself. So it's going to chew up a 100 meg network. That's why a gig network is recommended. Other than that, Anderson, I really don't know. I can guess, and maybe Dave or some of the other guys in here can speak to that. But thank you for asking anyway. Jesse's here. Hey, Jesse. And Blaze is here. Martin Stuckey is here. Hello, Martin. Let's see who else has shown up that I didn't recognize before. Timothy's here. Tommy's here. Tommy, did you do the lemonade challenge yet? That's what I thought. You need to do that. Well, what can we say? NDI. It's funny, when NDI first came out, it was 2 years ago, I think this month or last month. And it was funny because vMix was the only one that had adopted it and put it into production at NAB 2016. And I think NDI for NewTek got to be one of the NAB products of the year for 2016. And then, last year, more and more folks had it. And I think this year, NDI is really going to kick in big time because there are going to be a bunch of NDI cameras. Oh, excuse me. We know about the NewTek NDI camera, the PTC Optics NDI camera. Panasonic's got one. JVC's got one. Sony probably won't get one because Sony already has its own proprietary video kind of network protocol. But it's going to be interesting to see all the other softwares and products. I mean, Wirecast finally got NDI after a year. And there are others that are beginning to add it. I think we talked about it yesterday in the class that Adobe has got an NDI plugin now for all of its products. And NDI is going to be it's going to be the thing. It is the thing. It is the thing. Lots of people. I mean, I use it every week, and I don't even think about it. I mean, right now, this production that you're seeing is being produced on one PC, but being streamed and recorded on a second PC, and the connection is NDI. They're hooked to a network, and this beautiful video is going over a little teeny Ethernet cable at the speed of light plus, and then out to you. All right, let's see. Mark says, Tom, you mentioned you can use externals to send video. Does the audio go with that as well? Or would you have to route that a different way? Great question. If it's a full screen output, it carries the audio. If it's an external output like to Skype or Zoom, it will be just video. It won't include the audio. Because, well, actually it might, but those devices are looking for typically a separate audio source. But I don't think vMix audio is an option there. That's a good question. Let's see. Let's fire up what is that? Let's fire up a Zoom session and see if we can set in the settings if audio is an option. Audio sources, microphones. No, what it sees my Windows audio devices. Now it does see the microphone from the webcam. That's probably because the webcam is making itself available as a separate audio device. So the answer to the question would be that it doesn't appear that the external button for an external output will send audio, but the full screen button will. Good question. Good question. Now, keep in mind the full screen button, you know, in my situation here, I've got a DVI monitor, a DisplayPort monitor, and an HDMI monitor. And the only one of those three that carries audio is the HDMI monitor, because it's got, you know, HDMI carries an audio signal. And so in that sense, the full screen carries the audio. But if you're sending full screen to a monitor that doesn't have an audio option, I mean, like a DVI or VGA, those don't carry audio. 348 says, I can see vMix can be used to broadcast radio with vMix. Absolutely. And you can use vMix to record just an audio-only recording as well. Anderson says, also in UTC, I can't seem to get the NDI monitor to work. I see the list of options, but the video just won't show. Also, I can't get the video when I launch NDI video monitor. I believe it has some codec messing things up. Well, codecs, if you've got a codec from some, you know, maybe trial video editing software or something like that, sometimes it's hard to get those cleaned up. Blaze says, hello, Tom. Tonight I'll start my first live streaming. Thanks to you and all the people in this chat. I've learned how to do it. I hope. Well, thumbs up. Break a leg. Have a great show. Boris is back. Hey, Boris, been away doing conferences and helping others do streaming. Well, we're glad to have you back. And let's see. Mark says, thanks again, Tom. Mark, you're welcome. Edward says, buffering. And you must have heavy traffic on your internet. Well, let's see what... you're watching the YouTube feed? Let's fire up a task manager here and see what's going on. We'll use the performance tab. We'll use the Ethernet. I'm sending 91 megabits per second. That's going to the second PC, and I'm receiving 15 megabits per second. Not sure where that's coming from. And Steam looks stable now. My guess is, you know, it's the internet. Boris said you had choppy audio. Okay, now it'll be interesting to see if the YouTube recording of this event has the same problems. You know, it's... Yeah, 348 says he's watching on my webpage, which is the YouTube feed. It's funny, I've had sometimes where YouTube has been really buffering from them to you, but my recording, that is me to them, has been flawless. And you know, somehow they have the ability to ingest it well, but not always to stream it out well, and you just never know. Rich said Patch Tuesday. Well, that could be. I did download my patches on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different PCs, 7, and had a couple that didn't want to install, and it was basically some Windows Defender, maybe an update to the Windows Defender software that didn't want to install itself on some of them. Yeah, you know, 348, I love to blame it on YouTube. It's much better than taking the responsibility on myself. But by all means, always blame it on somebody else. You know, it was those darn Republicans. Oh my goodness. Jerome says, Tom, are you bringing products? Are you bringing products to sell at NAB? No, actually, NAB forbids any type of direct sales on the floor of NAB. They don't want people transacting business in that sense. So I'll be traveling light, and anything that I need to have out there, I'll ship out there in advance, like the vMix Obsidian system that we're building for them will go out in advance. All the goodies that we're preparing for the meetup, we've got some goodies for you. Those will be sent out in advance. I think the only thing that I'm expecting to take with me, and it's just going to be giveaways for the Streaming Idiots meetups, are some things that some of my vendors, some of the sponsors for this event, have sent me in order that I can test before I gave it away. So, if you win something, it may be pre-tested by me. So you do take orders then? Well, actually, you know, I won't be. My situation is going to be kind of unique. It's not kind of unique. It either is unique or it's not. There is no degree to uniqueness. My bad. My situation is unique, or might be unique, in that I will be out there at NAB on the floor of the show as a representative of vMix, which I'm really thrilled and honored to be asked to do again this year. I mean, last year they didn't know. They didn't know what they were getting. This year they know what they're getting. So they invited me back. So obviously it was, whatever it was I did, it was okay. But as a result, since I'm representing vMix, I can't be also representing Eastern Shore Broadcasting and Streaming Idiots. That's one of the reasons why we're having the meetup Tuesday night, so that I can be myself and represent Streaming Idiots and Eastern Shore Broadcasting. But the bulk of my time, at least the bulk of my time in public, will be representing vMix, which I'm very, very proud to do. Very proud to do. I could not be. Well, I couldn't be more proud of a product. I really couldn't, and the team behind it. It is just exemplary, and are there improvements that can be made? Of course, there are always improvements that could be made, but I couldn't be prouder of the way this company, the vMix company, operates, the integrity that they have, the thoughtfulness that they have of each other within the company, as well as their clients. And, you know, they have legacy clients that probably haven't paid them a nickel in 5 years. And I think they are still as devoted to satisfying those folks as they are to satisfying the folks that are buying vMix for the very first time. Here's an example. vMix's official policy is that when you purchase a vMix license, you get free updates for a year. That is, if vMix goes from version 20 to version 21, during the course of a year, you get version 21 for free. You don't have to pay extra to get it. And their official policy says after a year, if you want updates for another year, it's going to cost you $60 US. The only problem with that is they don't enforce that. I mean, yeah, you can buy the update. It's available on their website. But if you've got vMix 12 and you haven't updated vMix since version 12, you can go to their website today and download the latest, greatest edition, install it on your PC. It'll automatically pick up your license, and end of story. So their upgrade policy is a bunch of wink, wink, nod, nod, which I think is an example of their appreciation and respect for their customers long term, which I think, here, I'm going to get on my soapbox here for just a second. You asked. Well, you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I think it puts the onus on us as vMix users to show our appreciation to vMix for this this legacy protection by promoting the product whenever we can. Now, for me, it's a double whammy. I mean, I love the software, and so I'm happy to promote it, but I'm also a reseller, so I get paid when somebody buys it from me. I don't get paid when they buy it from vMix. Would that there was a way to make that work, but it doesn't. Nevertheless, I understand that a lot of my promotion of vMix does not return to me. It goes to vmix.com, where people make purchases there, because people all the time will write me and say, all right, Tom, I got my vMix now. Now I need some support. And I'm like, oh, you didn't get it from me. We have a support package, but anyway, enough of that. So Chris says, is there a way to stream directly to one or several smart TVs in the network from vMix? Is there a way to stream directly to one or several smart TVs in the network from vMix? I think there would have to be more specifics on that, Chris. I feel pretty confident there is. It depends on how smart the TVs are and what they're smart with. Do they simply have a connection to the internet? If that's the case, then they can pull a stream off of a CDN remotely. Do they have the ability to run something like NDI monitor? Then they could pull a stream off. It really depends. But that would be a great subject for a future show. I'll look into that. Make contact for future orders. Absolutely. My friend Chuck Braverman, who we will see here in chat sometimes, and who's in the vMix 101 class, I met at NAB last year, and we took a liking to each other, and he's purchased vMix from me, and we enjoy talking about live streaming things, and so he has become a client. Yep, that's a good example of that. And so it does work out to my advantage. There's no doubt about that. Boris asks, have any of you all, he must be from the South, seen the latency on NDI is better than using a Magewell capture card via HDMI? No, I haven't seen that. I don't think you're going to get NDI better than HDMI or SDI. Boris says, same camera running both NDI and Magewell capture, 12 milliseconds better for NDI. Really? Wow. I'm amazed. I suspect there could be something wrong with the Magewell card if NDI is that much faster. I'd love to talk with you about that, Boris, and see how you were able to do that. That's not been my experience. All right. 348 says, you're absolutely right, Tom. vMix is one of the most popular softwares on the internet market, and we must do what we can to promote vMix. I would take slight issue with that. I think vMix is getting there. vMix doesn't have the deep roots that, say, Wirecast does. I mean, Wirecast has a huge installed base in the U.S. vMix is very, very popular in Asia and Europe and the Australia area, of course, but only really has taken some note in the U.S. in the last couple of years. And Wirecast has been kind of the go-to standard. There was a time when VidBlaster looked like it was going to make a run for becoming the standard against Wirecast, because the developer of VidBlaster was able to crank out updates and new features that Wirecast couldn't. But then the VidBlaster sort of fell by the wayside and became a second or third tier product. And then vMix came on the scene and is making good inroads, but has not had, I don't think, has the general overall acceptance of Wirecast, just because it doesn't have the installed base. And so people that are making a second or third decision are not, and they own Wirecast, they're buying more Wirecast. They're recommending Wirecast. And so there's the pool of people that can make recommendations is larger. Now, I think that's changing, and I think vMix has accelerated the change by being so responsive to its customer base. Really pleased about that. Rich says that's the same question if we can use a TV or mobile device to capture the output from vMix on the same LAN. That is the same question. Anderson said he had a PC freeze up. He's in Barbados. How can anything freeze up in Barbados? So I had to do a forced reboot. And Giles says something in Invisible Ink. Got to run. Really great show. Thank you. Thank you, Giles. Bye, Giles. Anderson is replying to 348, says, I was pushing it from the day I downloaded it and tried it almost 5 years ago. That was in the days when Tom was that VidBlaster guy. I was. And I'm no longer. Well, they're still young in their infancy. They will get better. I have a good feeling about vMix. I agree. I've seen Wirecast. It looks more complicated than vMix, and I prefer vMix. Sorry. Don't be sorry. I prefer vMix too. And, I think corporate culture is important too. The corporate culture at vMix, number one, they're an incredibly small company, but their culture is very, very positive. Very positive. And positive can't be overlooked. I think it's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, let's see who might have joined us. Otis is here. Welcome. Glad to have you, Otis. And everybody else has been here for a while. Yeah. Well, guys and gals, I think, I've got some snow up there. How do I get snow in there? I need to go check my chroma key. Oh, and now the snow's gone away. Isn't that interesting? Is that how to do if I... Yep, there it is. Interesting. Interesting. Well, spiked hair is... we'll try the green gel. Anderson liked VidBlaster and VJ Director, which was, I think it was a knockoff of vMix, of VidBlaster. But vMix blew them all away. I agree. They listen to their customers and they try to accommodate on us on those new features that they're trying to give us through vMix. Yep. Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Well, guys, I need to get back to building computers for customers and getting people like Christopher their quotes. And Anderson said, Tom, I was the person who introduced you to vMix. Then you had two shows, one on VidBlaster and the next was vMix. Actually, short story about that. Anderson, it was, who was it? I'm trying to remember. It'll come back to me. But I was building a computer. I was building a pair of computers that were based on VidBlaster and VidBlaster's Instant Replay. And the client, after they took delivery, called me and said, we've discovered that there's this thing out there called vMix, and we'd rather have that. So I took back their VidBlaster installation, and I gave them vMix, which is what they wanted. And that was my first vMix sale. And I contacted Martin, and he said, well, yeah, we'll set you up as a reseller, but you got to give us $1,000 worth of business. And I said, okay, here it is. And I bought a license for myself and a license for my client. And away we went. Mark says, I still watch the older shows. Some good general information from the VidBlaster shows, too. Oh, that's interesting, Mark. I'd love to get your opinion on this. I've been wondering. Some of the early VidBlaster guy shows were pretty horrific. Not that the newer stuff isn't, but some of the older ones especially were. And I've thought about kind of, taking them offline. And I would love to get anybody's opinion on that. Is there really some value in some information that's 4 years old? Is there value in 4-year-old information? All right, Robbie's got to go. Thank you, Robbie. Glad to have you. Anderson did not use Anderson then. Gotcha. Well, this was Chris. Oh, golly, yes, I can see his face. He was in Michigan and actually drove down here to Alabama to pick up the PCs. And then called me back later and said, I want vMix. And that was my first experience with vMix. Actually, I had downloaded and tried it, and maybe that's because Anderson had pressed me to. And I looked at it, and I couldn't understand it. It wasn't intuitive at all compared to VidBlaster. Anderson says, "Are you kidding? I'm still using Windows XP." Oh no, that's that's Robbie. Well, don't use Windows XP anymore. It's time to do it. Chris said, "Thanks, Tom, for the show. The new hair. See y'all next time around. Bye." Frank B said, "Hey y'all, what did I miss?" Well, Frank, who knows? Some good stuff. Anderson said those shows had real good information. I must agree. That is what kept me looking out for the shows. Well, thank you. Thank you. Good deal. Yeah, Frank, we're about ready to close up shop. I've got 6 PCs in the process, 3 on the bench, and 3 that we're assembling. Well, we're receiving components on today. We need to get those out, one of them by Monday. So Otis says, leave them online. They value it. They're valuable information. Got it. Thank you, Otis. I appreciate that comment. All right, gents. Well, we're going to close up shop, and we'll let the stream go for another few minutes, just so it doesn't cut you guys off. And I will see you guys next week. And Frank says, "Can you just repeat the part after hello?" That's great. That's great. See you guys. Bye.